just a couple of minutes here. Thank you. Hi, everybody. Welcome back to our filmmaker interviews with some of these stunning filmmakers. I'm Renee Santos with Femme Film Festival. We're catching up with these filmmakers, giving us a little tidbit of why they brought their films to this festival. I'm so excited to talk to this filmmaker, Teresa Demarest. Am I saying your name right?
Demarest.
Say it one more time.
Demarest.
Demarest. Okay, I want to make sure I'm saying your name right. You have the same name as my sister, so I won't mess up your first name.
Oh.
But so yeah, let's talk about Throwaway Horses. This is a documentary, and I'd love to hear more about your why. What first drew you to this subject, and what made you feel like you were the right person to tell this story?
Well, when I was a little girl, and I remember people, I've mentioned this before, and I can't believe people knew about this, but I grew up in Sacramento, and there was this guy that would come around with his pony and convince the neighbors to let their little children get on his pony, and he would take a professional photograph of you and then charge the parents $1,000,000. And and he came every year, and I was 4 years old the first time he came, and I have pictures of me on this same horse till I was 12. Anyway, that horse made an impression on me, and then I've been an ex-nun and a critical care nurse, and when I retired from critical care, I'd always wanted to be around horses. And so I answered this ad in the paper, and it said, "Do you love horses, and do you like to learn to ride?" And I said, "Yeah." And that's when I met my horse, Taya.
Aww.
And I learned during the process. She's 23 now, and what I learned is that people don't know what's going on with horses. There are terrible things happening to horses. There are people that spend $100,000 on a horse, and it's the wrong color, or it goes lame, and they bring it up into the forest and let it go, and the horses die. There are things going on with horses that I made this movie. I really wanted to make this movie for the people who are not horse people.
Oh, I
So
love
that
that.
we understand what's going on. We know what's going on with cats and dogs, but we don't know what's going on with horses. And I'm hoping that by the end of this, and I want people not to be thrown off by it, because we've got a lot of humor at the end of over the credits, and that we want to bring them to understand. And all these horses that are in this movie, there are about 6 horses. They kind of represent different aspects of this race horse that we cover, and home horses.
How
Anyway.
did you build that trust and the intimacy with a horse? I'm curious, as whenever.
Oh my God! It took a lot. She was 8 months old when I got her, and the first day I was an idiot. I really was, and I had seen people take their horses and bring them out into the arena and let them go and play with them. Well, I thought, oh, okay, I'll do that. And so I went to the arena, and I brought her with me. She was kind of coming along. Who the hell are you? And and I go into the arena, and I close the gate, and coming at me full force, galloping, is a stallion. He would have killed us both, because he wants to kill the baby so that he can mate. And so, because of my critical care background, I was able to concentrate on the latch. I opened the latch, I got us out, he slammed himself against the thing, and I bring her back to her stall. It was like, she was going, "Oh no, who the hell is this?" I was a dope with a rope, is what they say. So I got into some programs called natural horsemanship, which means that I had to learn her language. And I didn't know this when I got her, but she She is probably one of the hottest breed there is. Very intelligent, very athletic. Not a really good horse for a first-time horse owner who knows nothing about horses. So I went to natural horsemanship teachers eventually, and what they emphasize is I have to learn her language, and that took some time and a lot of
Yeah,
forgiveness.
I imagine. I mean, I imagine even speaking, to I have a couple of dogs, and they have their own language, right? So I
Yeah,
imagine it's such a different experience with a
yeah.
horse. Well, I'm so intrigued by your project. I'm wondering if you talk a little bit more about your perspective as a woman and how that shaped the lens of how you told this story.
Well, I tried to get men involved in my movie,
They weren't
and
interested.
well, this is this is really bad. I'm going to get really criticized for this, but this was from a videographer I was working with. It was from a barn owner that I was working with, and these were guys, and they said, "Well, if you have a calendar with all the women and their horses in bikinis, we'd love to be part of it."
Mm,
And that's what they said. So at that point, I quit.
mm.
If men became involved in the film, great. And some men finally did find their way into my movie. And I'm really happy that they did because we got some really good, strong male people in the
Wow.
movie. I almost forgot your question. I'm sorry. I
Oh
kind of
no,
got
you
sidetracked.
answered this. It's just concerned about. I mean, curious about your role as a woman in bringing this story to life, as being
Well,
selected.
I wanted to bring both men and women into the project
Mhm.
because, that's when the world works best when we all work together. But the men just didn't want to be part of it.
Now, Teresa, I believe we have a clip of your film. I want to make sure that we have a moment here where we can show
Sure,
that
sure,
as
sure.
so. I want to wrap up for our audiences here. Will you finish this sentence for me? The power of documentary filmmaking is what to you?
Oh, uh, letting people know what's going on. I'm kind of an organic filmmaker, and I just went in trying to bring out the personality of the horses and the personality of the people. And in fact, in writing the music for this thing, it happened during COVID, and my composer, I didn't give him, uh, you know, notes to play. I sent him sequences of each horse, and he wrote the music specifically for that horse. So I kind of do things organically, and I want to bring out what the people are telling me and to tell it. I want them to tell me, not me tell them.
Oh, I love this. Well, I want to
Yes.
make sure that people get their actual butts in the seats and support you in this festival. So if you'll tell
Thank
me
you.
really quickly when you're screening at La Femme, and then we'll go to a clip of Throwaway Horses.
Okay. Yeah, we're screening on October 18th at noon at the
Awesome.
Regal Cinema. It's going to be the best version of the film that I think we'll ever get to see because our chances of getting a theatrical release aren't high. Theatrical releases are extremely expensive, but Regal Cinemas is going to be 5.1 surround, a big
You never know
screen.
who's going to be there, right? You never know.
I know.
I've got my fingers crossed for you. I feel like
Thank
good things
you.
are coming for you. Thank you, Teresa, for joining us today. And join you guys in watching a clip of Throwaway Horses. Hi.
Hello, how are you?
Welcome. I'm quite well. Thank you for joining us. And I want to make sure I'm saying your name right. Asavari?
Asavari.
Asavari.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm excited. This is the first animated short that I've interviewed. I'm excited to hear about your project, especially because I feel like every film has sort of a creative heartbeat to it. And I'm curious, what would you say is the emotional center of your film? Let us know a little bit about your film and how it feels to be a part of this festival.
Yeah, of course. And thank you so much for having me. So, Creatures of Chaos, I mean, just to sum it up, the film explores this idea of transforming hidden emotional burdens into visible creatures and kind of shows that when we share our chaos and be in community with each other, healing becomes possible. And so, going back a little bit, the sort of inspiration for the story, and I co-wrote and co-created this with my sister, and we run an animation and design studio together. So we do commercial projects, but we also do a lot of our own sort of like passion projects. And this was one of the films that we made recently. And so when we were growing up together in India, mental health struggles were often met with like, or surrounded by stigma, and there was a lot of shame and silence surrounding any conversation about mental health. And this cultural silence sort of shaped my worldview from a young age. And after moving to the US, I came here to go to school and sort of pursue my filmmaking career. And I found that, you know, people do talk about mental health here a lot more.
Yeah.
But I do feel that although mental health challenges, especially recently, have, you know, they've always sort of like they've kind of entered the mainstream, and although they've always existed, I feel like there was a moment in the pandemic where they became even more visible and urgent because there was such a strain created on people because of the isolation and everything that everyone was experiencing.
Mm.
And as an animation filmmaker and visual artist, art has sort of always been a refuge for me. So during this sort of COVID isolation period, I you know, wanted to sort of find a way after that to reground myself and reconnect with community. So I turned to pottery and teaching to sort of like reconnect with like humans. And I started making these sort of like blobby clay creatures in my clay practice. I have like a little
Oh,
guy
I love it.
here.
You made that during COVID?
Yeah, I started doing pottery right after COVID, and then, you know, through the practice of just like you know, intuitively exploring the medium of clay, I started making these creatures, and it was very much about me taking my sort of like emotional struggles and like putting them into this medium. And these characters called Creatures of Chaos were born because all my sort of like stress and all the anxiety was sort of being poured into these little guys. And I started sharing them at like pop-up markets and like conventions around Los Angeles, and it actually sparked a lot of conversations with like people about their own emotional struggles. So it became sort of a point of like conversation, and kind of seeing how people strongly people resonated with these creatures sort of inspired my sister and I to, you know, basically be like, oh, I think there's a story there, maybe there's something more we can explore, and kind of start with like the genesis of these characters and how community, mental health, isolation, all of these things are sort of coming together. And so the core, the heart of the story sort of became stigma around mental health, importance of vulnerability, and the healing power of community. Very long answer to your question.
A great answer. When you say that you poured yourself into these creatures, is it based on just from where I'm sitting? They look like cups. Can you actually pour something into those?
So yes, I mean, this little guy is very functional. He's dishwasher and microwave safe, and it's,
I love it.
so I mean, I did make him to be like this like a vase, but I do have like other pieces that are like cups and dinnerware that have like, you know, this type of vibe to it.
I love it.
Yeah, but the characters in the film actually started out as clay sculptures that I'd made, and they were all like vases or cups or like some kind of like blobby dinnerware of some type.
I love this so much. Well, we have a clip of your film. I can't wait to get to it. I want to make sure that we have time to get to that. But I'm wondering if you'll kind of button up One, you spoke about it a little bit, but I think what's so important about your story is as the BIPOC voice, and I'm curious, like, what you hope audiences will take away from this film, especially in the context of BIPOC women's voices in cinema.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely kind of true that like mental health is being talked about more in mainstream spaces, and that's a positive step, but not everyone experiences that visibility equally. So like as a creator of color, for many immigrant communities and working class spaces, mental health conversations are still very much shaped by stigma and silence and cultural barriers. And Creatures of Chaos was created from that reality to show that being vulnerable, finding community, and making space for emotional struggles is still like a vital ongoing process, and it's not a finished conversation.
I love that. Well, please let our audience know when it's actually screening at the festival to make sure that people see this film. And then we have a clip, so we'll segue into
Yes, absolutely. So we are screening on the 19th at 10 a.m. and it's part of the animation block. So there's going to be our film and a lot of other cool animated films. So please come join us.
We will. Thank you so much for being here. And let's check out a clip of her film. Savri, I want to order one of your creatures online.
Oh, absolutely. You can follow us on Instagram. We usually take orders from Instagram, and we do a lot of pop-up shops around LA.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm excited to see you.
It was great talking to you. Thank you so much.
You're a delight. Enjoy the rest of your day.
In the beginning, all films were short.
It's not a charity. We're not here to help you. We're not here to help your cause. We're there to make our money make money.
It probably takes a year to 2 years to really start seeing money.
That title of executive producer on a feature is not the same as the title of executive producer on a television show.
Because what you're seeing on television right now is history in terms of where decisions are being made today.
Don't give yourself a bad review before you start.
I'm sorry, I'm super awesome, and this is my pitch.
What are recommendations for packaging?
Getting to the right person at the right time, and you have the right piece of the package that they want to see.
And be able to adjust, because the plan will never execute exactly as you plan it.
If you set aside money for social media, for a publicist, for marketing, things like that, and really you don't have to sit behind those dollars and you can have more control of your own release.
You can't go wrong. As for me, I knew that my episode was either going to be awesome or fine. That's the risk you take.
Thank you for joining us. Can you hear me okay? Kat, I think, are you muted? Can you hear me? Yes, no, maybe so.
Hello there.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
I can. How are you?
Great. I'm excited to talk to you. You are the first music video maker I've spoken to today. So I'm excited to hear about your project, what it feels like to be a part of this festival, and just give us a little breakdown about what your video is about.
So Collecting Dust is it's the debut music video from Amelie Roden, and she was picked as a key emerging artist here. And she basically won a competition with Screen South, who are a big regional digital agency here supporting heritage and arts and screen projects using Arts Council funding, which is a major thing here and a great way to get things made. And they then paired me up with her as a professional director to come in and try and bring that song to life. And so it's a very personal song for her. It's about a bit of a situationship that goes wrong, and she felt very toyed with. There are a lot of toy references and toy shelf references in the song. And so I thought, what a great way to bring in some of the things that I could visualize, which was she's a number of different dolls. She has a number of different personalities. But then also artistically for me, I could get in things like forced perspective, working with confetti, doing some interesting stuff on their Infinity Cove. So it was just a great opportunity for me to do a really lovely music video, all shot in a day, which is slightly insane.
That does sound slightly insane. So was there a moment when the confetti and doing this all in a day does sound like a lot. I'm wondering if was there a moment where this kind of like clicked into place and you knew that you were telling like an important story through this video?
It was when we all met. So all of the 4 artists and the 4 directors, we all met together and we kind of picked who we thought we should work with based on hearing the song and just having a little bit of time together and making notes about it. And I just felt like I gravitated towards her. I understood her story. I thought visually I could do some really interesting things with her as well. But I think in terms of making a video, what I really wanted to look at was women being toyed with. And if you're choosing to be the toy or if you're kind of owning that story. And it felt to me, particularly with working with a printing company, Black Dog Digital, who I've worked for before on my shorts, they made me this huge big doll box that we could put her in. And we could change her characters and her look and her personality each time so that she's kind of at war with herself or versions of herself through stages of that relationship. And I could totally relate to that. I think most women in terrible situationships can kind of relate to that story. But also it was just an opportunity for me to do something really fun. And I love dolls. I'm a big doll fan. I've got dolls on my shelf up there and around me. Old classic doll looks of the sort of 60s, 70s and 80s, like Cindy, and really old Barbies and stuff like that visually are quite striking to me. And I just loved the song. Everybody loves the song. It's a bit of an earworm. Once you've heard it, you can't forget it.
Oh, I really love this. You seem to have such a prominent perspective on the female contribution to this story, and I'm yes. wondering, like, how does this feel to be a part of this? This festival has a legacy, and I'm curious, what does it feel like to be a part of this community? Have you met fellow filmmakers during this process? And obviously, the festival hasn't started yet. I'm wondering, like, what's exciting you about the next steps of this process?
So I was just thrilled to have been selected because I've put shorts in before and I know how competitive it is to get into this festival. I know how competitive it is. So when the acceptance came through, I thought, oh, wow, for the video that I shot in a day, it was a lot of hard work, but I was just so kind of overwhelmed and blown away. I thought, man, I spent a year doing a short, but this is like the thing that kind of broke through, which is just so flattering. And I know Amelie is absolutely thrilled. She desperately wants to be there as well. If we weren't in the south of England and tied to other projects, we would both be there to see it on the 70-foot screen. But I'm really excited to have my virtual pass and explore everyone else's work. I'm really thrilled to be a part of it. It's really flattering, and it's my first music video. So all of the years of sitting in front of MTV as a kid has really paid off.
Oh, I love that. I'm so glad that you're part of it. Well, we want to make sure, even if you guys can't physically be there, that we get people to be there to support your work. So if you'll let us know when it's screening here in LA at the festival. And then also, we have a clip, so I want to make sure that we have time to get to that. And if you'll let us know where we can continue to follow your work and support your artists beyond this festival.
Yes, so our screening is Friday the 17th of October from 6 p.m, which is really exciting. More of my work you can find on catdavies.com, CATDAVIES.com. You can find links to my previous shorts, and my new short is just completing in post now. It's called Rubbers. It's a comedy fantasy about a neurodivergent woman who is in love with stationery. So it's very visual, it's very fun. So that will be out, I think, next month.
Oh, wow. Congratulations and all the important work that you're doing. It was a pleasure to talk to you. And I can't wait to.
Thank you. You too.
Yeah. Oh. So let's pan to a little sneak peek of this masterpiece.
Somebody else. I'm still sitting on your shelf collecting dust. Yeah, you find somebody else. I'm still sitting on your shelf collecting dust.
Hi, Linda. Oh,
hi. How are you? Can you hear me?
I can. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm really excited to talk to you. You know, this festival is a stunning festival with so many filmmakers, and as one individual person, I don't always have the opportunity to view the entire film before I get to talk to you guys. But in this case, I have been able to see your work.
I saw the documentary. Thank you.
I'm so honored. I have my own opinions of the criminal justice system in general. So this was an important film for me as a spectator to watch. I'm excited for you to tell us a little bit about this film. Am I right? This is an Oscar qualifying documentary.
It is an Oscar qualifying documentary short. It's called The Window on Death Row. We just had our premiere in August. So it's all happening quite rapidly. But it's interesting when you hear the title of the film, you know, at first blush, people are like, oh, it's going to be academic, or, oh, I'm going to be schooled in the justice system. And it's anything but. It's a very emotional film about Joaquin Jose Martinez. He was on Florida's death row for a crime he didn't commit, a dual national, American and Spanish. So he was ultimately the first Spaniard to be exonerated from US death row. So the film really asks us, what would you do with that second chance of life? You know, where do we find the compassion and humanity on death row? And can stories of trauma also hold resilience and joy? So I'd be very curious about what your experience was watching the film, what inspiration you found from it, and if kind of what I'm saying holds true.
I absolutely do think it holds true. You know, one of the things I think that in our society, we say, you know, innocent until proven guilty. But I don't know that internally we really hold on to that principle. I think when someone gets labeled as a criminal, we look for their guilt, not their innocence. And your film really captures looking for the innocence in all of our humanity, and seeing that this is a person. I think what's dangerous is when we make anything an it is easy to punish an it. When we depersonalize someone's story, I think it's easy to criminalize anything. And your film really brings that out. It almost doesn't matter that he's innocent in a way, for the relevance of this.
That's really interesting you said that, because when I started this documentary process, I wanted to be sure I got beyond that binary of innocence versus guilt. I didn't want to do what the typical Netflix true crime dramas do, though I am a fan. I do devour those. But I didn't want to turn the viewer into the judge or the jury. I wanted the viewer to be along for the ride, to be emotionally connected to Joaquin and all that he had gone through, and also understand the nuance of this process. So Joaquin has this experience where he's on death row. He comes out. I am covering what his life is, kind of what are the pieces after all of that, 20 years since his release. How does he cope with the trauma? How does he really transform that trauma into advocacy? And in the film, he has a reunion with his chaplain who helped him through some of his bleakest moments. And there are just these powerful moments together where Joaquin confesses to him that he feels he would have been dead if he hadn't gone to death row. The path that his life had taken. And so to reach that nuance and that understanding and that complexity, I mean, so much of this film really is about redefining these common expectations or understanding and surprising you. Like another example for anyone who watches the trailer, it opens with Joaquin talking about kind of the absurdity of the last meal.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you're going to be dead tomorrow. You're going to see, the sequence of those. You're going to see the last minute of your life on the clock, and they're telling you choose a meal, right? And the powerful moment or kind of transforming aspect of that is Joaquin when he's exonerated. And at this point, he becomes quite close to the people, the fellow death row inmates in his pod. He buys a sandwich for every single one of the guys on death row. And he shares it with them. And he says, it's like, this is our last meal together. It's a shared meal. So he completely transforms that understanding and really shows us what those human connections are and what they mean.
I feel, gosh, it's a stunning piece of work. And, you know, I want to ask you, because this is a La Femme Film Festival, and I'm curious what part of your perspective as a woman really shaped the lens on how this story was told?
Yeah, I mean, I hate to kind of dance around in the world of stereotypes. I will say, if there was a word to describe me as a filmmaker, it would be empathic, for better or worse, right? I have a journalist background. For the past 2 decades, I've been a foreign correspondent, worked with the Wall Street Journal in various conflict zones, and I've felt this urge to always find the humanity in the cruelest and bleakest of moments, like to seek that out and find uplift. I don't know if that comes from a feminine aspect of my character or simply just, the way I was born. But I think that in this piece, you really see that a lot, and on 2 levels. One level is, of course, the way that I search for that within the story and the structure of the story, but also the environment I build and some of my policies and ethics in preparing someone for an interview. So I make sure that whenever I'm inviting someone into a documentary project, that person's ready to speak from the position of empowerment rather than victimhood. They're choosing to tell their story. They're ready to tell their story. And I ask myself, how do I create those conditions? So if you look at the opening of my documentary, which is playing October 16th at La Femme in the 2 p.m. block, the first question I ask Joaquin, you like how I fit that in there?
Yeah. I was going to get to it too. But
I also have a radio background. The first question that I ask Joaquin, though, is why are you doing this? Just to make sure it's okay for him. And in some ways that is, again, for better or worse, a dog whistle to other filmmakers who work in documentary, because so many of us struggle with this question of exploitation versus elevating a voice, particularly if I've never been on death row. I don't have a family member on death row. How do I work my way into this world, and how do I make sure that Joaquin is entering on his terms? And one other thing I would add is, in terms of creating the comfort, I made sure to invite, his wife wanted to come, and I made sure to invite her and have her available for him during our hours and hours of interviews if he felt stressed or overwhelmed. And she was just wonderful in that process. And I also made sure, so we're very indie. It's basically me and wonderful DOP Marco Castro, who helped with some of the filming. And so we were filming in his home, in his studio apartment. And I made sure to remove all the light bulbs, the exposed light bulbs. Because when Joaquin entered death row in 97, they were testing the electric chair. There had just been There had just been a botched execution right before, where the person who was being executed had caught fire. And so various government officials and committees were testing the chair, and all Joaquin remembers from his first few days there, or much of what he remembers, is the flickering of the light bulb as they tested it. And so he gets a very visceral emotional response when he sees those. So we made sure to remove all of those and just not create any sort of trigger for him, so he felt ready to tell a story and welcome.
Wow.
And and he opened up about that, and also that this is very interesting. His first few weeks on death row, as they were going through this process, and they still are going through it today. What is the best way to execute someone? What's the cleanest way? So we don't have to pay attention to what the reality of what we're doing. Do we switch over from lethal injection to nitrogen? Like what is going on here? Is it the shooting range? Like there's all these conversations now throughout the United States. And Joaquin, his first few weeks, he was actually given a questionnaire. There was one question on it. It was multiple choice. And he was essentially asked, so how do you want to die? And so there he is sitting on death row, and he has to check a box for the method of which he would most likely want to die. I just think I tell the story of humanity, but I also tell the story of these moments where our humanity really is called into question. And I just hope, whether or not people are for the death penalty or not, they just start to ask these questions about, what does humanity mean? What does closure mean? Is there ever an ethical reason or way to kill someone?
Yeah, such important questions to ask. I don't want to inject my opinion in this, but I would love for our audiences to. I want to hear a little bit about what drew you to this subject and why you are absolutely the right person to tell this story. I think that you are, but that's what I mean about not injecting my opinion. Why are you the right person to tell this story?
I don't want to get into too much personal detail, because I want to make sure that the film truly is about Joaquin and really an entryway or a window to the 200 people who've been exonerated in the past 50 years, not just him. But I will say that so many of us have this pain that we walk around with, or this injustice that we face that can't be undone.
Mm-hmm.
And so it reaches a point where you ask yourself that question, well, how do I work through that? How do I find closure? And if anyone takes away anything from this film, it's really that theme of forgiveness that I hope resonates most. Forgiveness, because what we found with Joaquin and what we found with a number of the victims' families is what leads to this opening. That's what leads to some reconciliation of this pain. And so I found that through this process of working and speaking with Joaquin, and I just hope the viewers are kind of exposed to that and that journey. I mean, this was interesting for me because we used to call us, I was foreign correspondent in the field. I'd have I'd be like a mule, right? I have my backpack, I'd have my camera, my light kit. I was called a one-woman army. That was it, right? You did it all. You were,
That seems like an appropriate title in the
right, one-woman army. With this project, I actually stepped out of that space where I wasn't filming for the first time. I'm usually behind that camera in some capacity. And so it was me and Joaquin sharing this experience together, crying together. And though I was asking him questions and he was responding, there was still a connection there because I was going through my own personal journey inside my head. And I think for people who watch the film, or for yourself, I'd be curious if that intimacy and that kind of comfort and trust that we've built did resonate through the story that Joaquin told.
It absolutely does. And to your point that we all have a different story, but that oftentimes our stories are laced in trauma. And I found the story incredibly relatable. In full transparency, my mother passed in February. It's been a very, oh, no worries. But I'm cultivating my story around this. I was estranged from my mother for 25 years. We connected in my 30s. And so I'm cultivating this story as a creator myself. And I share that with you because my impetus to continue to create comes when I meet filmmakers like you, or hear these stories that are such personal, vulnerable stories. And what I've realized is sometimes I feel like what separates humanity is our willingness to be seen. And sometimes there's a negativity around vulnerability, and your film captures that. Vulnerability isn't weakness. It's this willingness to have our trauma be seen.
Wow. Yeah.
And I just found that so compelling. So although my story really doesn't necessarily parallel the experience of this story, walking through my own personal trauma, I feel like I have permission to kind of be messy and flail as we all kind of navigate our trauma. And I think that's what beautiful filmmaking does. It's relatable without us being able to relate to the particular details of each individual story.
I love that, to be seen, to be ready to be seen, to be vulnerable, like all of those things, but also interestingly to see others, see you, seeing them, seeing you. Like, yeah, that whole. But it's also interesting too, the way we kind of cope with the trauma and how it comes out, because there's also a lot of, I don't want to like, okay, bring your tissues, yes, but there's also a lot of humor, and there's a lot of hope, and there's a lot of love and joy in this. And, you know, I just want to share one quick story. I know we're going a bit over, but on my Instagram, I had posted for The Window on Death Row. It's called Window Death Row, the Instagram handle. I had posted the trailer. And someone wrote, "I'm dying to see this film!" exclamation point.
Oh, no.
And okay, I know. Initially, people would think cringe, right? Like, how could you do that? But I was just like, yes, exactly. And I'd remembered this moment in the film where the chaplain and Joaquin are reuniting after 20 years, and they're talking about the men in prison. And the chaplain says to Joaquin, "It's funny how they say often, I'm dying to enjoy the things I used to complain about." Dying to enjoy the things I used to complain about. And that's it. That's the message of the film. That's the message of our coping. There can be joy. There can be this seeking of human connection, this seeking of the feeling of the rain on your hands, or, you know, frankly, seeking out the annoyance of doing the dishes or getting lip from your kid, the things you used to complain about, you know? Yeah. So I was grateful. I wrote her and I said, "I'm so glad you're dying to see." Oh. Hope you can make it in LA.
Oh, I love it. It's been such a delight to talk to you. I could talk to you forever. If you will reiterate when your film is actually screening at the festival, to make sure we get butts in the seats to see it. And then also, we have a clip, and I want to make sure that we get to that. And if you let us know a little bit, what is the future of your projects beyond this festival? How can we continue to support your work?
I appreciate that. Yeah, so the screening is October 16th in the 2 to 4 p.m. block. So I hope to see you all there. I will be there. I live in Spain with my family, but I will be flying in for it. And I look forward to meeting and talking to everybody, and also seeing all of the amazing other films on the agenda. It looks incredible. You can follow this documentary at windowdeathrow.com. There's also information, really resources. How can you get involved? How can you learn more about Joaquin's story, and also organizations that are doing some incredible work? In terms of my future projects, I have a number of documentaries that have just come out, short documentaries, that also work with this theme of kind of trauma, and how you find hope through kind of spiritual themes, right? And spiritual connection. So there's a story that just came out on Muslim suicide risk in Florida, and the work that a South Florida community is doing there and I have a link to it, I believe, through the Instagram, but how the community there is really reducing suicide numbers by addressing the stigma. And so that gives you an example. As you can see, I work with a lot of these religious and spiritual themes, though myself, I'm not Catholic, I'm not Muslim. The imam said to me when I was working on it, he was like, "You're the most religious, non-religious person I know." But so that gives you a sense. I have a book coming out as well, in which I have some essay contributions about some of this work too, is that in February. So much going on. And I really do hope to, again, connect with people in Los Angeles.
I'm so grateful to have you. Please join me in watching a beautiful clip of The Window on Death Row. Thanks, Linda.
Thank you.
Choose a meal. You're going to be executed tomorrow. You're going to see the last minute of your life on the clock. You don't know if you're going to scream, and they're telling you, choose a meal. I was there 3 years, and I was losing my mind.
It's amazing to me that anybody can continue in that situation and not give up.
I felt a lot of hatred, and I felt betrayed by God. I recall the conversations I would have with Brother Dale, and he says, maybe it's wrong that you're here, but God hasn't abandoned you. Maybe it's you that has not just abandoned God, but yourself.
You have to assume that of the 1,600 people who've been executed, we probably have executed innocent people.
How do we justify taking human life gratuitously?
Pero fíjate, ¿no? Las celdas, qué pequeñas son.
No me despertéis, puedo soñar con mi libertad. Ese es uno de los nuestros.
And Madam Clerk, would you publish the verdict, please?
State of Florida versus Joaquin Jose Martinez. We, the jury, find as follows as to count 1 of the indictment. Defendant is not guilty.
When they tell me that I'm going home, I bought a sandwich for every single one of the guys on death row. It was like saying, this is our last meal together. Hablo en contra de la pena de muerte por lo que representa. El odio, el rencor, la venganza, la falta de compasión, la falta de perdón, la falta de humanidad.
Healing is taking place when somebody is using their experience of trauma to try and relieve the suffering of others.
Este sentido de perdón libera, ¿no?
Me hace sentir a mí bien.
Libera porque
I believed in the death penalty. I grew up thinking, that it was, I guess in some ways, a relief for the victims' families. If anything, it served as closure to the victims' families,
They talk about that whole deal about it's supposed to bring closure. There's no such thing. It doesn't happen.
Por todos los que están condenados a muerte, chicos, no solo rezar, sino también ayudar en todo lo que se pueda ayudar. I think we'll get there.
You're hopeful.
Yeah. Oh, still I lose. Hope.
Hi, Daria. Am I pronouncing your name right? I want to make sure before we launch in I'm saying that right. Thank you for being here. Thank you. Gosh, it is such an honor to meet with so many incredible filmmakers. I'm excited to hear a little bit about your project. You have a short narrative film, and it's great how you guys have kind of signed up on the sheets too, because I'm getting a taste of musical videos and documentaries, and now I have an opportunity to chat with somebody who did a short narrative. So let me know a little bit about your film, what it feels like to be a part of this festival.
Well, my film is actually my final project in college.
Oh, wow.
So I'm a beginner, and
you wouldn't know it.
Oh my God, thank you. So my film is mainly talking about self-help and fixing oneself within oneself. Mm-hmm. And it's a visual representation of a feeling of something is missing, something's not quite right, but I still have to go on, still have to work, still have to continue my day-to-day life. And so in a very, very short film, I tried to portray those feelings and thoughts, and I hope I succeeded. Because I'm a new animator and I'm aspiring to really go inside this community, this festival gave me the push and strength and like the hug I really needed. Basically, it felt like someone said, we see you, you have a chance, you can do it. And I'm really grateful and honored to be part of the festival. So thank you.
We're very grateful to have you. Let's talk a little bit about like what was the emotional anchor for you of this story. What did you want us as your audience to feel from your project?
I wanted the audience to feel that we all feel that something is not quite right. that we all feel anxiety or stress or depression or anything that any one of us can pick something else, but something that will be portrayed as I'm not working quite right. And I kind of wanted the audience to look at the film and see that nothing will be resolved, but it doesn't mean that we can't accept it and kind of continue living even with those feelings, and we can help ourselves to accept ourselves the way we are.
I really love that. You know, La Femme celebrates female voices, and I think you have a unique female perspective in the telling of your story. I'm wondering if you share with us a little bit how your experience as a female filmmaker really shaped your approach to this film.
So it gave me the opportunity to show how we females can create amazing films, amazing animation, or whatever in the festival we're making, and we absolutely can do it, and we deserve to be heard.
Yes.
And when my approach was, I'm gonna make the best I can, and hopefully it will reach people.
It is definitely reaching people. What is it like to see your work on the screen and to be in this festival among so many like powerful female driven stories?
Oh my God, it's such an honor. It feels unreal. I'm pinching myself every time I get an email or an update because like, oh my God, this is real.
We're not real.
It's really happening. I'm a part of an amazing festival that celebrates women, and I get to be beside so many amazing films. I watched some of the trailers and I'm so excited. They're so talented.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool. Even, you know, being in this role where I get to interview all of these incredible filmmakers, just being a part of this community is really incredibly special. I'm wondering if you'll talk a little bit about just what you hope your audiences will take away from this film, especially in this. I mean, you've talked about it a little bit, but the context of women's voices in cinema and film, and how our stories are often overlooked, and just you'll talk a little bit about our evolving industry and how you're a part of that, how it feels to be part of that.
Well, I'm technically just beginning, so I'm hoping to be a part of it.
You are part of it. You're here.
I mean, like part of the industry and create more and be able to really go inside a job market and to be heard and to be seen. So if this is my stepstone, I'm really proud of it because that's an amazing opportunity and an amazing stepstone to start a career from. So I'm really, really grateful to the festival and to you for interviewing me.
Of course. If you could give just one piece of advice to women, emerging women in film, what would that be?
Don't be afraid. Scream out loud, create, and don't be afraid of opinions or what other people say that doesn't feel so good or that feels a little bit like you can polish it off. No, your opinion really matters, and do what your heart tells you.
Oh, I love that. I spoke with a filmmaker yesterday that said her piece of advice was, you're going to get a lot of no's. Just make sure that no doesn't come from you.
Yes, that's amazing.
And I thought that was really cool, you know, like to believe in your story and think, now I'm going to quote you tomorrow. Yeah. I want to make sure that I have the opportunity to, because we have a clip of your film. I want to make sure that we get to that. But if you'll let us know a little bit about the future of this project, where audiences can follow your work after this festival, and then most importantly, where we can see this actually, where your time slot is at our festival. And then we'll pan to a clip.
So the future of the film is hopefully more festivals, and from there we'll see. After I'm entering festivals, I will post it on my social media. I have an Instagram and Facebook. I'm, as I said, just a beginner, so be patient. More work is coming. And my slot is with a lot of amazing animators, short films at October 19th at 10 a.m. So please come watch. They're amazing.
I'm super excited. Well, please join me, guys, in watching a clip of Introspection. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Hi, ladies.
Hello.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Welcome to La Femme Film Festival. I'm very excited to talk to you guys. I have to say, I have been educated in this process of looking into your film and to see so many beautiful female composers. I honestly had never met a one in my life. I am so excited for you to share with our audiences about this film, this vision. Yeah, let's start with your film. What inspired this story? What made you feel like it was important to tell this story now?
Absolutely. So as you just said, hi, this is Veronica Sabag speaking from Italy right now.
Oh, hi.
So,
It's dinner time there, right?
So Global Women in Music, Composers Rewriting the Score is much more than a documentary. Is almost a global movement made by 100 of voices from around the world that are moved by the mission, the common mission of moving the needle and changing the current situation for women in the music and the film industry.
Wow.
So this is basically, I mean, what it is: Global Women in Music Composers Rewriting the Score, the score, and it is the inspiring story of our initiative called Global Women in Music, which you have to know is a very groundbreaking initiative. We have to say that it is, if our records are right, the only production in the world right now that has a concert put together by an orchestra, not any orchestra, but the United Nations Symphony Orchestra, playing only music by women composers from around the world. So it's a huge coordination effort that is trying, as I said, to move the needle for women in music, for women in film, and in general for women from around the world.
Wow, this is I'm speechless. I would love for you guys to talk a little bit about what you say would be like the soul of this film, and was there a moment during production that kind of surprised you or shifted any of you in how you told this story?
Well, totally. I will just start, but of course, I want the other voices also to speak here, because you only see three, but there are hundreds from around the world behind the scenes in this initiative. So, as I said, this is a concert by the United Nations Symphony Orchestra with 90 musicians on stage. It has been held for 3 years in a row now, showcasing each time an average of, I will say, 7 to 8 composers, their pieces. They present the stories, their culture, their identities. It is extremely moving to watch. And as I said, the common message is, okay, let's raise our voices together. Let's make everybody hear us, know that we exist and know that we are here. So they cannot tell anymore, any director, any concert hall say again that they don't know any composers, so any female composers. That's not right. We're all here. We all see them and showcase them on annual basis. So I have to say that I found myself in this project as an accidental producer and co-director, because, as I said, our core activity is more the musical production itself, but we decided to film the experience. And this is how we came together, by editing nicely some interviews here and there, the concert, some extras from the concert. So we ended up having a documentary to tell the story, to echo and amplify the message.
I love that. I'd love for some of the other women to kind of speak on your experience of this too. What does it feel to be a part of La Femme Film Festival for you personally, professionally? How are you guys taking all this in?
Should I go?
Sure.
So I don't know, like writing music and writing film music, it's actually such an isolating thing. You're always in your studio, always in your room, wherever that is, and you create, you make revisions. So when it becomes an experience that allows you to connect with others, it's always more, I don't know, more cheerful for me. And throughout this whole experience. We got to have so many firsts. We got to visit the United Nations headquarters in New York City. We got to see our concert poster and all of our faces advertised in Times Square, which was a crazy surprise by Veronica that no one knew about. So I don't know, like having those things, and also like hearing all these women talk about their creative process or what music means to them. Like it's always the thing that makes it more inspiring and more memorable. So sharing it with them, for me, that was the best part. And the documentary was also, of course, the cherry on the pie. We didn't know that that was going to happen. So like the whole experience and getting to represent our countries, I think that is also such a prestigious and honorable thing. So I'm so glad that I got to be a part of this.
And Esin, where are you from?
I'm from Istanbul, Turkey, and I'm currently calling in from there. But I normally live in Los Angeles.
Oh, I love that. I not to make it about me, but I just flew in from Istanbul on Monday, and it was my first time in person. I know. What are the odds of that? I'm still jet lagged, but stunning, gorgeous country. Very glad to meet you.
We're all connected.
Yes, we all are. Nirmala, am I?
Yes, Nirmala. Yes, you can call me Nirmala. It's all fine. I just loved what Veronica and Esin said, and thank you, Renee, for having us and help us talk about our project. So I am a Indian classical musician. I've been doing this for 45 years. This is my life. But to get invited to be part of a movement, the Global Women in Music is a movement, as Veronica beautifully said, and Esin added on to that. And I play the Saraswati Veena, which is, by the way, the goddess of arts and learning. So we have women at the helm every single place that we are involved in. And the piece that is on the documentary that I am part of by Shruti is called Freely Mohini, which is also a female character, which is very empowering to play. So the concert is one of bringing together joy, spirit, and using music as that language that we all know. The first music we make is when we are born, when we cry. And that music has no boundaries. Music has only connection. And what better way than to speak of this in this context? And I kudos to Veronica for this vision and for the United Nations Symphony Orchestra. They're marvelous. So when I played with them, we had practically very little rehearsal, but just the pieces fell in so much because all our hearts were wanting the very same thing, connection and uplifting everyone in the room, of course, the women.
Yes, you guys are absolutely doing that. I'm curious if you guys, and you can all speak on this, would talk to us a little bit about the conversation or the change that you hope that this documentary sparks after audiences see it.
So first of all, really, we are all extremely grateful. It has been an exciting journey since we put, our documentary out there. We received recently a prize and we won a competition on female empowerment. Which is really re-energizing and, giving us all the hope that precisely the impact of this initiative will just grow and grow. So in this journey, we are extremely grateful to La Femme Film Festival for selecting this documentary and for giving us this space. Again, as I said, to bring our advocacy, to amplify our voices. And as I said at the beginning, just to make a difference for women in general, because I think, unfortunately, we've been discriminated. Let's face the reality, which is this one. We've been, we've been marginalized in so many industries and sectors. And we precisely selected music because this is the language we use to communicate among different communities and to break all barriers precisely. But women composers for us is also very symbolic, meaning those are in the music industry, the less visible figures. And right now, according to some, I have to say, past statistics, but still, they are still there, and maybe Esin can add something to that. So still, music from female composers represent only 3% of the music that we hear in the films. So that's not normal. I'm sorry. So this is what we want to achieve. And having a space at La Femme, maybe we can also, trigger the sensitivity of other women directors, because I think, as I said, this is a movement. And usually when you tell your story in front of others that have the power to change it, to say, please hear us, acknowledge this problem of underrepresentation of female composers in the industry. So maybe next time they have a movie, they will turn to their fellows, right, for the music.
Yeah. I think those statistics are important. I mean, even for a festival like this, 10% of the directors in film are women and 90% are still men. So as much as we're beginning to get a platform, it's still a lot of work to do. And I'm glad you guys are a part of this. I want to make sure that we have time to get to the clip of your film, but if the other two ladies will speak on that same question for us before we
Sure. Do you want to go first this time, Nirmala?
Why not? I just want to acknowledge that that's a very important part of our work, to shine the light on the women, the composers, the artists, the performers, and every single aspect that that producing a show involves, whether it's a movie or whether it's a concert. We just are very grateful that this festival, which is about women, has space to talk about the women composers. So thank you very, very much for shining the light on this documentary. We truly believe in it.
It's an honor to have you guys.
And as for me, I'm a board member for the Alliance for Women Film Composers. And we have a very big membership, or at least very big compared to, when I was growing up, I had no women composers to look up to. So for me, it's very inspiring and motivating to work hands in hands with them, sometimes collaborate with them. We have more than, I think, 1,500 members now. And the sad truth is, women do get work. We work on a lot of documentaries, short films, independent films. But of course, globally, it is more known when you get to work on big studio projects. And that's the glass ceiling that we're kind of trying to break, because the percentages that Veronica are talking about, the 3%, 4%, etc., that is sadly the truth. Some years, I think it comes up to 5% or 6%, but it's still very low. And then especially in the whole award circuits, the Oscars, the Golden Globes, the Emmys, whatsoever, for you to qualify for those, the production has to be really high, and the production should also be vouching for you. So that is our next step, I think, in making our voices be heard. Because the thing is, writing music is such a human thing. And it really depends on empathy and emotions. And women are known for being sentimental and being good communicators. So I don't think we have anything less than men. It's just that throughout the history, it's always been male composers. So studio executives have more trust in male composers. But at the same time, once they work with a woman, they see that there's no difference. When you listen to music, you can't tell, a woman wrote it or a man wrote it. It doesn't matter. Women can write for action. Men can write for heartfelt dramas. It's all human at the end. So I really hope that the directors and executives and producers, they would give us more of a chance. And once we prove ourselves, I think we're going to see faster and faster improvements. I believe in this.
I believe in your vision too, and I'm grateful to be a part of this, and for La Femme to be able to amplify your story as well.
We're so grateful.
Yeah, we're grateful to have you. It's such an honor. We want to make sure we get to a clip. If you guys will let us know when it is screening at our festival, to make sure that we get people to support your work. And
so it will be screening on the 19th at 2 p.m. So please join us.
Please join us. And please join us now in watching the clip from Global Women in Music's composers. Thank you, ladies, for being here.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Music is connection.
Music is profound.
Music is a language. Music is my religion.
It reminds concertgoers and musicians in this orchestra that there's so much talent out there that we really need to dig deeper past Beethoven, Brahms, Tchaikovsky, Rachmaninoff, Bach. They're geniuses, but there are other extraordinarily talented composers who happen to be women who have been forgotten and ignored in history.
It's not only female composers underrepresented in concert halls, only 5% come from women. But in the film industry, it gets even worse.
Women working with women, when they're helping each other, when they're upholding each other, lifting each other up in that way, there is some kind of extra magical power that gets to happen.
It is complicated. It requires a lot of effort, but it is absolutely not impossible. So if we made it, I think others can make it as well.
Hi, Candace. Thank you for joining us. Gosh, what a lineup of incredibly gifted female filmmakers. I'm excited to talk to you about your short narrative. Finding Jemiah's Spirit, am I saying that correctly?
Finding Jemiah's Spirit.
I want to make sure I got that right. Please tell us about your film, what it feels like to be part of La Femme Film Festival, and just being a part of this community.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you so much for having me as well. Finding Jemiah's Spirit is a short narrative about a little girl who is getting ready for her first day of school, but her father recently died, and she wants to go to the better place to be with her father. And her mother is kind of on her own in her room, going through her own grief of losing her husband. So the grandmother comes in and is explaining to the little girl that her dad is an ancestor spirit, and she's trying to understand what an ancestor spirit is. So the little girl goes off on a journey trying to find her dad's ancestor spirit before her first day of kindergarten. And the grandmother is also trying to help the mother with her grief so that she can be there for her daughter. So it's really it's a 3-generational story about grief and healing and connecting with ancestors, and just a family film. And it's inspired by my life and my dad, who died when I was 11 of stomach cancer. And, they told me you went to a better place, which I grew up in a, religious family. The better place is heaven. But it just felt, even as an adult now, I don't really like that kind of condolence, because it feels like feels like someone leaves and you can never talk to them again. You can never feel a connection with them. And so I really wanted to just, tell the story to kind of shift how we're communicating grief to kids, and even how we're, speaking about grief and death, and connecting with ancestors with adults. So people of all ages as well.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for sharing that. It was going to be my next question, what was your emotional anchor to this story? So thank you for your transparency about your dad. I lost my mom in February, and it's beautiful to see the humanity in other people's stories, and that we connect through trauma and relate through trauma. And I think this is incredibly important work. I'm curious if you'll talk a little bit more about what was that sort of memorable or unexpected moment that kind of really defined this film for you, or the experience of shooting this film?
I think I would say that goes back to the script. And actually, first, I'm sorry for the loss of your mom. So very challenging, I'm sure. But yeah, I think in the original version of this script, I was working on developing the story with my producer Musal Onrico, and it was a shorter script. There was it was more magical. We had a butterfly coming to land on a little girl, the squirrel, and everything. And then once we got into the pre-production and we started budgeting, we realized you couldn't afford to animate a squirrel and a butterfly. It was actually surprising how much that cost. And so then it kind of made me think about the story and making it more grounded and really having more complex stories. So it's about the little girl Jemiah and her journey, but it's also about the grandmother connecting to her daughter, who's her little girl, even though she's an adult, and then the mother connecting with the daughter. So it really as a personal story, I had to dig deeper to really evolve the story and be authentic, and maybe pull from a lot of my own emotions and experiences to tell the story. But I really wanted to feel grounded and realistic in a way that budgeting like forced me to do, and I mean, you're right, like grief is such a like relatable theme. Everyone experiences grief, everyone, and so that was definitely something that was talked about amongst all the cast and crew, at some point, like having that kind of, experience and kind of just talking about how we all experience grief at some point in our life. So.
Yeah, it's a great segue to my next question because I'm curious if we could talk a little bit about your individual creative voice in this project and how would you describe your storytelling style, or how did it evolve while filming this project?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely try to be authentic. This is obviously like a personal story, but like in every story that I have, I try to have some kind of authenticity or human element. Even if we're like going in outer space, like people really are connected to characters, and I ultimately want. I try to tell stories that people feel like they can resonate with the character in some way, even if you wouldn't necessarily think that you would resonate with someone. And so I wanted each character to have their own journey. Creatively, I really was intentional with the color in this film, and having that represent different moods. Worked really well with my director of photography, BP Edwards, on like different shot selections, and having that framing dictate the character's mood as well. So it's really, I think this film, which I think every project gets better, every project should be better, like the next one. And so really just spent a lot of time, like really refining the vision I had for this project and making sure that that was present in all stages of production. So.
Oh, I love that. La Femme celebrates female voices, and you have such an important female voice. And I'm wondering, how has your experience as a filmmaker, filmmaker, shaped the approach to how you told your story?
I think that's a good question. I think I tend to do tell a lot of like women-led stories, because like our voices are so like underrepresented, but they can also be like typecasted in some way, in some instances. So this one, uh it is like a female story. Like it's driven by like the grandmother, and like her connection with both the characters, but like even like having that strong like woman like voice as a like kind of helping the family heal, I think feels relevant. So like, yeah, I think a lot of my films do tend to like tell, like have like a female driven like narrative, I would say.
Yeah, it's great. And I want to make sure that our audience today gets to see a clip of your film. But I'm wondering if you could tell us, to make sure we get butts in the seats and support you at the festival, when you're screening at our festival, and how we can support your future work beyond the festival.
Yeah, absolutely. So we are screening on October 18th at 4 p.m. Very excited. So please come out and join us. And yeah, just following our film on social is at Jamia Spirit Film, and staying connected there. And ultimately it's a film, but also it's like the mission is to like how can we have conversations around grief? How can we sift the narrative, sift the communication, and really helping families with children deal with grief as well. So, yeah.
Oh, I love that. Thank you, Candace, so much for being here. And please join me in watching a clip of Finding Jamia's Spirit. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I want to go to the better place.
The better place?
Yeah, with Daddy. Everyone said that he went to the better place, but he left me.
Your daddy is an ancestor now.
An ancestor?
Yes.
Daddy?
You know you can't stay here forever, baby. How long does it take? How long does what take? For me to stop missing him?
Hi.
Karen.
Hi, lovely to meet you.
So excited to meet you as well. I'm excited to talk to you because there's so many different filmmakers here, and what's unique about your contribution to our festival is you're in script format. I'd love for you to talk to us about that process, where you're at with your film, what it feels like to be a part of this festival.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, it feels amazing, obviously, to be included with so many talented female filmmakers. It means a lot, and especially because the story is so important to tell, and the themes and what I wanted to say throughout the story resonated with the audience and people within your festival. It meant a lot. The story is pretty much, it follows a boy who was born with cerebral palsy, and because of his disability, he's judged and excluded from the world. And because of this, he turns to coping mechanisms, which is like alcohol, which has him like land on the streets. So it's really about like how we view people in society who are vulnerable, experiencing trauma, and how we, approach them and talk to them and make a positive contribution, even if we're one person dealing with someone homeless on the street, approaching them. And yeah, that's pretty much the main kind of gist of the story.
It's such an important story, and you, from what I understand, you won Best Impact, Social Impact Screenplay.
Yes, Best Social Impact Screenplay at the Atlanta Women's Film Festival.
Congratulations on that. It sounds like I'm excited to read the script. I wonder, can I read it?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I'm curious about that. What the next steps are for this film. What is the future of this project? Are you looking to get funding, or what is your vision of what comes next for this?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to get funding for it. Right now, I'm focusing on another feature screenplay as well. But yeah, I'd love to like get it into like the next step and like, get it into production. Whether that's getting it optioned or having a producer come on board and just get more interest about the story. That would be like the next best step. Because I feel like it's such a complex issue, homelessness, because there's a part where people are like, well, they should make those steps to make the changes themselves. And there's kind of that push-pull within society, needing more funding and leaving it up to the people. But obviously there's a lot of people that have trauma, whether that's from abuse or going to war or having a disability. That is not an easy thing to talk about, and even I don't know, to even like unpack in a normal conversation. So yeah, I'd love to have the story get out into the world, get it made. So it really challenges the way we treat others.
I love that. What inspired this story for you? What was the personal spark that was the impetus to you bringing this to life?
Yeah, so my uncle was born with cerebral palsy, and as a coping mechanism for, I guess, his lack of self-worth, he began drinking and became homeless. So a lot of the times he was like trying to work his way back up, and then I get a job, and then, oh, I'm fired because I have a disability. Now this is like going back like a few years. So there's more things in place. But really what sparked this project getting made was I was living in Glasgow, and I'd go to the coffee shop and I'd work, and there's a big homeless community in Glasgow. And there's like this big bay window, and I'd be sitting there and you just see people walking by, and I'd be, typing, and I have someone sitting next to me, a homeless person sitting next to me for their coffee in the morning. So it was seeing this huge community and people walking by and people asking for help and not really getting any acknowledgement, like feeling like there's no one to talk to, no one to turn to. So as a part of like my research, I guess, I'd get too good to go bags, or I'd go to the grocery store, and I'd go out walking around Glasgow chatting to them and like talking to them and seeing, what was on their mind, like how their day was going. And what I found, which is part of the premise of this story, is that it's not really about like the food that you're giving. It's really just acknowledgement and just striking up a conversation, not out of like pity, but out of just like any other person you cross, like, oh hey, like how's your day going? Like, well, I don't have any change for you, but like, do you want a banana? Like, I just went to the grocery store. Like, here you go. So it was that kind of like that spark of it doesn't really take that much to make a little positive impact in that person's day, to maybe feel like, oh, like maybe I'm not what society treats me as. Maybe there's people that care, and maybe I can. That's one little step to getting me in a better place mentally, spiritually, and physically in a better mindset. So yeah.
I think that's such a beautiful message. You know, I have for many years I managed a Starbucks, and we had a homeless population that would sit in front of our store each day, and people were very unkind to the homeless population. And one day when I would walk in to open my store, I just started asking them what their name was when I walked in. And that was the only distinction. And a lot of the harassment subsided, and I think it was because they were not feeling seen. And I think your film has the opportunity to really change that by just giving visibility to the humanity in all of us. And I can't wait to see what this looks like once this pen to paper becomes your vision, you know. And
thank you. I appreciate that.
A beautiful idea. So thank you so much for sharing that with us. And I'm wondering, like, what does this feel like to just be a part of La Femme Film Festival? What does that mean for you personally and professionally?
Well, this is the first screenplay that I put onto the festival circuit. I've written a lot of different pieces, but this is the first one that I put out there to kind of see how it was received. And I think a part of the storyline is that the man's sister is able to make a change within her own life because she sees how the impact of having no self-love for yourself or lack of self-worth impacts your well-being. So I think, you know, if you're able to, as a woman, get out of a situation where it's difficult and you know, there's not much help. Let's say it's like a domestic situation or something along those lines that women would experience. That's important. So to have La Femme, you know, acknowledge that, you know, it's not just about vulnerable communities on the streets, but also women experience these feelings. And it's not until we kind of, I guess, grow and learn from our experiences that we learn to make maybe better decisions and get out of situations that perhaps aren't healthy for us. So to be, you know, to have other women kind of get behind this idea, especially this festival, it's very important. Yeah, and it means a lot since it is the first piece of work that I put out into the world.
It's an important piece of work. I'm excited to, if I have the opportunity to read it, I'd love to. So because you are not screening at the festival, I want to make sure that we can continue to support and follow your work. So if you'll let us know how we can follow your work, learn more about you after this interview and after the festival, yeah, that would be amazing. And if you'll button with one little word of piece of advice to emerging women in film before you answer that question for me.
Yeah, so I guess my best piece of advice is that I don't think you know all the answers all the time as to the next best step, if I'm doing this right, if I'm doing it wrong. Perhaps I think women second guess themselves a lot, especially I think a lot of women feel like you can't make a wrong move sometimes, but I think that it doesn't really matter. I think you just have to keep going, and the only way that you're going to progress is just learning and staying on that journey. So no matter like the setbacks, you just have to continue on no matter what.
That is quite a pearl of wisdom. Can we edit just that clip, you guys? Thank you so much for being here. And so how can we find you or follow you?
Yeah, so I'm on all the different social media platforms. If you search my name, Lauren Pizzicaroli, lauren.pizzicaroli on Instagram, you can find me there. I also do script consulting. So I have a script consulting service called Source Script Consulting, where I provide script coverage, reports, and screenplay festival strategies. I also work as executive assistant for Dr. Rebecca Louisa Smith, the film festival doctor. So I manage films and screenplays on the circuit, like BIFA, BAFTA, Oscar submissions. So twofold there. So if you need help at the beginning or if you need work at the end, yeah, I'm a girl.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a delight to talk to you.
Yeah, you too. Take care. Best of luck with the rest of it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
All right.
You know, in the beginning, all films were short.
It's not a charity. We're not here to help you. We're not here to help your cause. We're there to make our money make money.
It probably takes a year to 2 years to really start seeing money.
That title of executive producer on a feature is not the same as the title of executive producer on a television show.
Because what you're seeing on television right now is history in terms of where decisions are being made today.
Don't give yourself a bad review before you start.
I'm sorry, I'm super awesome, and this is my pitch.
What are recommendations for packaging?
Getting to the right person at the right time, and you have the right piece of the package that they want to see.
And be able to adjust, because the plan will never execute exactly as you plan it.
If you set aside money for social media, for a publicist, for marketing, things like that, and really you don't have to sit behind those dollars and you can have more control of your own release.
You can't go wrong. But as for me, I knew that my episode was either going to be awesome or fine. That's the risk you take.
Hi.
Hi, Renee.
Hi, ladies. Can you guys hear me? I've been having some muting glitches. I just want to make sure that we're. Hi, everybody. I'm excited to talk to you guys about the Comedia. So this is short film. Your first time director. Tell us about your film. What it feels like to be a part of this festival.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited that we're making our LA debut here at La Femme. I think that is just such a perfect spot for this. So I'm Frankie Kevich. I am the writer, director, and I am the main character in this. And yeah, so this was a film that really kind of came up out of COVID. It's kind of follows the life of an actor that, you know, struggles with her self-confidence, with just all of the things that come along with being an actor. And yeah, there's like a very special dream sequence that kind of happens through it that brings in a lot of like allusions to clown stuff, and like specifically the whole tale of like Pagliacci. And yeah, I mean, in that it was a really cool, challenging, very helpful thing that I kind of was able to exercise my own demons through. And yeah, I mean, I had just the best crew possible to be part of this. It's an all-female cast. We like Tiffany, was one of my producers, and she's been such an amazing like voice to like help steer us. And Steph was like one of the first people that I reached out to and asked about this, because this big dream sequence, she is kind of like our lead clown in it. And we did have to like learn a lot of Italian for this kind of crazy dream sequence. So I just had like a really wonderful, dedicated group of women that helped make this film possible. And yeah, I'm so excited that it's in such a women, celebrated festival. And so that's been like a really, really exciting thing for us.
Yeah, I'd love for you guys all to speak on that a little bit more, like being a part of La Femme Film Festival, this amplifying female voices. I've heard a through line of filmmakers talking about the collaborative spirit of working with other women, and so I'm curious, like, what it feels like to be a part of this community in the festival, and if you'll share a little bit more about your experience of telling this story through your female perspective and the value of that.
Yeah, I mean, for this film specifically, I remember starting to write it and just the whole clown posse that kind of came out of it, that is kind of this very supportive voice that guides you through like this fog of self-doubt. I just kind of wrote it gender neutral, and then by the end, when I was getting ready to cast it, I was like, I don't need any men in this, which is really interesting. I'm just like, I think that it would be so much more impactful to hear all of these things from women. And so yeah, I'll pass it on to my co-star Steph, and I would love to hear, because Tiffany had such an amazing reaction when she read the script and was really excited to come on. So I'll hand it off to you guys.
Yeah, I'll be quick. We and Frankie do a lot together. There's not many projects that we haven't collaborated on. So when she brought this to me, I was like, yeah, whatever the heck you want to do, I'm in. And then she was like, well, we have to learn Italian. I was like, interesting. And so at first I was like, oh crap, like maybe someone else is better for this. But eventually I was like, screw it. Let's just do it. Let's have fun. And it was so empowering. And the fact that we pulled it off and did it with such flair, if you ask me, I'm just so proud of it. And Frankie's incredible. What a beautiful and powerful leader. So I don't know. I freaking love it. And I'm so excited that La Femme is our premiere here, because I think that's so on purpose. I'm all about liberating women, baby. It is our time.
It is our time. Let's amplify each other's voices. I love it. It's been like just so beautiful to be able to talk to such an incredible palette of women with different voices. And yeah, there's something about that energy of like co-creating together and supporting each other and inspiring each other's ideas. And yeah, this has been exciting. I'd love if you guys would talk about like what it feels like to see your work on screen, and particularly in this festival among so many powerful female-driven stories.
I think specifically, sorry, Frankie, just going to jump in really quickly, because I think this kind of goes to something we both talked about earlier, is I think specifically to be recognized in this space is really important to us, because I think the story began as gender neutral, but when you start to feel the nuance of what we're trying to say, I think it satirizes what women go through in such a visual industry and medium. And I think a lot of stories can easily be very dark and emotional, which is important. But I think our comedic and thriller element, we were trying to also pay homage to the art of it and really go there. And it's a little absurd, and it goes through these fantastical sequences. And I think that kind of speaks to how stylized we wanted to make that emotion feel as well, which Frankie can also speak to.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an honor to be in such a women-led, festival that celebrates so much of it, and like for them to really recognize, yeah, just the fun that we were having in this, because it's like it was once we really decided of like this is an all-female cast, and I think that like I want us all to lean into that and like to bring out all of the talents that like we've learned as women. Like my makeup designer Sarah Summers was so amazing. My art director, Myra Vitella, she's amazing. Like everybody just really leaned into all of their like creative artistic talents to like make this fun and interesting and visually beautiful. So yeah.
I'm excited. Great. Speaking of it being visually beautiful, we have a clip of your film. Yes, I just want to make sure we allot enough time so that we can actually see that as well. Okay, great. I want to make sure we get to that. If you'll let us know when your film is screening at the festival, and then also how we can continue to support your work beyond the festival, and what is the future of this project after La Femme?
Yes, so we're going to be one of the first early blocks. We're going to be screening on Thursday, October 16th at 2 p.m. Auditorium 13, I believe. And yes, you can follow The Comedia Film on Instagram. I am also on Instagram, just under Frankie Kevich. If you guys want to share your handles as well.
Steph Martinez official, because there's a lot of us on the official one. There you go.
I love it.
And you guys can follow Frankie and Steph. I'm more of a behind the scenes.
Well, yes, feel free to follow me. I think that this story was kind of like a very beautiful creative vignette. But I think that, you know, in terms of like extending it to a bigger thing, into a feature, that's still kind of like up in the air, but there's a lot of really cool projects that I am definitely trying to work on. So if you just follow my channel, that would be a great way to support.
I love it. Thank you, ladies, so much for being here. And without further ado, let's take a sneak peek. Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Renee.
You got it.
For Harry, England, and St. George!
Concede. You know, I really wanted to show bad. It was bad.
Oh my god, it was so fucking bad! Ah!
Mommy says you stink. Smelly baddie, smelly baddie.
You guys loved that one, right? That was funny. Yeah! Yeah. Yeah. I would just reel it all back.
Perché sei così patetica? Chi sei tu? Perché stai nel mio bagno? Perché parli in italiano? A così ti stai. Devi lasciare stare. We need to be perfect.
Smelly Patty. I like that.
Hi, Natalie. Can you hear me?
Hi. Hello, Renee. Yes, I can.
You look incredibly familiar, and even your name looks familiar. I feel like we know each other, or maybe it's just because your film is incredible. But I don't know why, but I saw your name in the feed, and I was like, she looks incredibly familiar to me.
Well, I wish. That would be awesome. I live in Australia, so I don't think our paths have crossed.
Probably not, but maybe just vibrationally. Well, I would love to hear. Let's start with your film. What has inspired this story? What makes it feel important to tell now? And how does it feel to be a part of this festival?
Oh, it's such an honor to be a part of this festival, and to have Showstoppers premiere at La Femme is so exciting. What is the journey of this film? Well, I started it as a part of my master's degree, as a kind of grand finale of my 5 years of study. I did a Bachelor of Acting, and then I did a master's in film. And this feels like it is a cumulative work of that 5 years. It combines all the skills that I developed. I'm the actor, the lead actress, the producer, director, writer, and composer, because it's a musical. It's a 20-minute musical. And so, yeah, it feels like I am wearing my heart on my sleeve. If you were to ask me who I am as an artist, this Showstopper is it.
Wow, that is quite a lot of hats. I didn't realize you were the composer of this as well. That's incredible. Was there a moment during production that kind of surprised you or shifted in how you told this story?
Definitely, because this is the first film that I have pioneered as, I guess, in all of those different areas. I thought to myself, why did I decide to make all of these things my job?
Yeah.
But I had such a clear vision and such a clear maybe goal as a young person. I just needed to do this for myself and make that step in my career to prove to myself, actually, no, I can do all of these things. And I will proudly announce that I have done all of those things, because yeah, it was a lot of hard work. And so I show Showstopper with so much love and pride.
I love that. You know, it's a great segue to my next question, because I feel like every story sort of has a creative heartbeat, right? And every film sort of has like a soul to it. And I'm just wondering, what was the emotional center of your film?
The emotional center of Showstopper is in the love, the messiness, the craziness of young female friendships, and how we, the characters are just going on 18 years old. They think they know everything, but actually they know nothing. And so when we're thinking of the heartbeat and the center of this film, it's about the messiness of these young girls. They think they're making the right decisions. They go behind each other's backs, and but all of that messiness is the beauty of being a young woman and figuring out who you are.
Oh, I really love that. I wonder if you could finish the sentence for me. Filmmaking for me is.
Filmmaking for me is the reason why I was put on this earth. It feels like I was born to be a storyteller. I was born to make people feel, I don't mean this in a gushy way, but change people's lives through my storytelling. And I think even though Showstopper may seem light and silly and fun, and it's a musical and we do dance numbers and we break into song, at its core, it's a really relatable human and female story that everyone can relate to. And yeah, so that's what
I love
filmmaking
that. And I love that you were bold enough to use the word gushy, because I think as women, we are told not to be gushy, and we are, and it's beautiful, and it should be celebrated. And I'm wondering if you'll button this up a little bit for us with talking a little bit about that. La Femme celebrates these female voices, and I'm wondering how did your perspective as a woman shape the way that you told this story?
Well, I had a very clear target audience in mind. This is a film about young girls for young girls, so I wanted it to feel really real and relatable. And so I think to have the variety of incredible films that are going to be at La Femme, to do my part for my audience, I think that I feel so privileged that I'm going to fill that gap. We all have the people that we made our films for, whether it's for ourselves and for our audiences, but my gift to the film festival and to this scope is to provide my unique perspective, and specifically talking about young women.
I love that. Well, I want to make sure that we get people to see your film. So if you will let us know when it is screening at La Femme, and then also how can we follow you and continue to support you beyond the festival, and then we'll pan to a clip.
Yes, awesome. Showstopper is being screened on the 18th, Saturday the 18th, between 4 and 6 in that block, with a bunch of other amazing short films. The best way to find me is on Natalie Ferris Official. That's my website. You'll see all my other projects in theater, in film, and as an actress, as a director, all of the above. It's all there on my website. So thank you so much for your continued support.
Awesome. Thank you it's been a delight to talk to you, truly. Natalie, I wish you the best. Thank you for being gushy. And without further ado, please join me in watching a clip of Showstopper.
Thank you so much.
You got it.
I am talented. I am brilliant. I've got this.
Oh. Hello.
Hi.
Renee.
Hi, Renee.
Hi. I'm unmuted. I want to make sure. Oh, can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Renee.
Hi. So nice to meet you. I'm excited to talk about your short film. I hear it from a technological perspective that I felt like I heard an airplane. I couldn't hear it for just a second. Please, let's start with your film. What inspired this story? I know this is a short film about domestic violence. I'm really curious to hear what inspired you to tell this story, why it's relevant now, and what it feels like to be a part of it.
Well, I've been an artist. Hi, first of all, Renee. Such a pleasure to be with you. Such a pleasure to be at La Femme, to be showing our film at La Femme. I've been an artist for about 30 years, and I've been working on people's projects my whole life. And I think finally I got to an age, maybe like 5-6 years ago, when I finally figured out what I wanted to put into the world, you know, as an artist, as a signature. And I started to write. I wrote this feature film. And I realized writing this feature film that if I really wanted to get it done, I had to start with short films, and I had to start directing and writing them. So I remember at the time I had just read an article categorizing the different types of violence that women go through in their homes. And I sat down and I wrote the script. You know, it has like a fantasy feel to it. You know, it's got a fantastical element to it. And I sat down and I wrote it because I was also really bothered at the time with the Trump presidency, you know, and the fact that he had all these women accusing him of misbehavior, sexual misbehavior. And I kept thinking, my God, this is like the leader of the world and nobody seems to care. And the domestic violence seems to be growing around the world. And I swear to God, the same week that I wrote this film, the United Nations let out this research saying that 50% of all the feminicides in the world happened inside the home by either a husband or a father or a brother, a relative of the murder victim. So it just felt very urgent to talk about this. And I know that after the pandemic, we got into issues of like even higher numbers of domestic violence. So I really do feel like we need to talk about this. This is like the most basic thing, is to treat your loved ones with respect. And so we got this film done. It took us 5 or 6 years, but we finally got it done because I have not only this amazing actress here with me, Caroline Hoerig, but she's also a woman that knows how to go after money, you know, and raise money so that we can make the film happen. So I really have to thank her for making this a reality nowadays.
I'd love to hear your perspective too, Caroline. You know, my next question was going to be, you know, what is the most challenging part about bringing a story like this to life? The filmmaking process. How did you guys overcome those challenges? What was it like to be such an integral part of it, Caroline?
Okay, so I think I was the first one, or maybe the second one, to know about the short, because Genia sent me a message and put up a meeting. And we got together, Genia, me, and Gianna, which is our producer. And I remember we were just talking how important the subject was for all of us. And then, okay, so fast forward to next year, fundraising, we got the pandemic and everything slowed down. So it took us 2 years to fundraise for the film. And then I know that now Genia just said about 50% of the murderers being committed by somebody, either a partner or somebody really close to the victim. And now we have 60% after the pandemics. And then the script is amazing, but it has a lot of elements. And most of the time, I wasn't really having a dialogue or anything. So, but all of the time I was there, I had Genia's guidance. And other than that, I pretty much I asked, I don't know if you guys believe this universe or higher purpose or anything. I just wanted to be an instrument, really, to bring this message forward in the best way. So I had the best director by my side, which is a great friend and whom I admire so much. And that was pretty, it made me feel more comfortable about everything. And I think all the rest, we had an amazing, great team of cast and technical crew and everything. So it all just got really going in a perfect way, I would say.
I love that you're talking about that kind of connection to like a source, because I think there are moments where it's kind of like the universe conspires for our good for us, and there's those magic moments, right? And I'm wondering if you guys would talk a little bit about that. Was there a moment during production where you felt like everything just kind of clicked and that you knew this story was landing and that you're about to share something important?
Yeah, and to me it was really funny because we had 5 days of production. And I remember in the first morning, the first day of set, I was literally freaking out because there were so many people coming to me for answers. And I was just so overwhelmed at the fact that I had to have answers to all these people. And I had to explain, something that made a lot of sense to me in my head. But obviously nobody knew, nobody like lived in my head to know all the answers. And I was freaking out. I remember sitting down for lunch and being like, oh my God, I'm not going to be able to do this. I'm really not going to be able to do this. And then comes the next day, and we have this gigantic scene with like maybe 12 actors in the scene. Like, this is just a gigantic short film in terms of how many people worked on screen and off screen. And during the scene, people around me, especially the women who were sitting backstage watching in the monitors, were so excited. They were grabbing my hand and holding so tight. And they were so thrilled by what was happening. And I could feel it. And I was so happy too. And I'm like, okay, I got this. I'm going to be able to, to get through the week. And we're making something here that's important. Obviously, I do feel like women relate to it in a different way than guys do. And I do hope that both men and women can watch this movie and learn from it and, get inspired by it. And talk about it and criticize it too if they feel like it. But I feel like it's really important. And I tried to make the language of the film very dynamic because I wanted it to be special for teenagers to watch it, to be able to watch, the kids that watch TikTok, to be able to stay and watch the film. And we've shown it to many different students here in Brazil, and they really seem to respond well to it. So I'm really, really thrilled about that.
Oh, I really love that. I want to make sure that people come and see your film at the festival. So if Ginya, and am I saying your name right, Ginya?
Ginya, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I find that so important. I hate when people butcher the spelling of my name or mispronounce it. So I want to make sure.
It's a tough name. It's a really tough name for Americans, especially.
Yeah. Yes, I understand. I have an accent on my name. Americans hate typing an accent. I'm like, but it's my name.
Yeah.
But I really want us to be able to get there. So let us, please tell us when you are screening at our festival. And then also where can we follow your work, learn more about your film, and continue to support both of you beyond this festival? And we have a clip.
Right. Great. Well, you can, if you know how to spell my name, you can find me on Instagram. That's probably the easiest way. I also have a website, but it's not always up to date. Carol also has an Instagram. It's Carol Hoerigi, just the way it's spelled, but without the I-N-E on the first name. And you can watch our movie on October 17th between the window of 4 and 6 p.m. And I do hope you get to watch it and see it and reach out if you can to us. Oh yes, and Carol's going to be there.
Yes. I love it. Maybe we will meet.
Yes.
That's the cool thing about meeting virtually before you meet in real life, right? Well, I'm so excited to support your film. I have not seen this film yet, but this is the beauty of the role that I fill by interviewing you guys. I get free tickets to all of these films, so I'm going to be there to support you. I'm excited to see it. But let's give our audiences a little teaser of your film now. And thank you guys so much for being here. Please join me, guys.
Thank you, Renee.
Thank you so much, Renee.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure.
Without further ado, here's a clip of Try Your Luck.
Seis.
Olá, sortudinha. positiva você escolheu para o dia?
Moisés, o elevador tá maluco, me responde, por favor, Moisés.
Olha ela!
Oi, boneca.
Você trocou a senha de novo, porra?
Tadinha dela.
Vem.